All right. Here we go. We are here with you live on a Wednesday night. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you are having a fantastic start to your week. It has been a crazy week so far, just in general, but also, with a lot of stuff going on in all the various aspects of sports that we have. We concluded March Madness, right? We have a winner. Unfortunately, it wasn't the team that I wanted to win the whole thing, but it wasn't even a great game, at least from the Gonzaga standpoint. If you're a Gonzaga fan, you're really upset right now. But there's a lot of other things going on in the world of sports. We're going to be covering a few of these topics here today. If you're here and you're new to this, my name is Chris. I am your host for the Action Lab. We are one party member short of our crew tonight. We don't have Scotty here to be joining us. He is actually working at the Rockies game right now. He was actually gonna think about popping on for a quick segment. He wanted to talk a lot about Masters, but he actually is, he wanted to save that maybe for another time. So I didn't want to hold that against him. I didn't want to hold him back. Elacola, yeah, so sad. Poor Zags. It's not good. I know we had a lot of Zags fans that are part of this Action Lab crew, all of our lab rats. So sorry about that, guys. I don't want to rub salt in the wound. We will be talking a little bit about the Baylor and what ended up unfolding, what my thoughts are on the national championship, and as far as the odds go for the next tournament, because those odds have already been released. So there's a lot of people that are saying that the Zags are going to be in there for the main chance to win again next year. Baylor's up there again. UCLA is going to be in there in that mix. So there's going to be some interesting names popping up. Wrong little switch there. But hope you guys will stick around. We're going to, again, talk some Zags. We got some other topics we're going to talk about. We have the All-Star game coming to Denver here in my hometown. So that's going to be pretty exciting. There's some controversies a little bit around that as well. So we're going to kind of not necessarily dive into the politics of it all, but we're going to just go into, just some of the fun aspects of what to expect from a MLB championship for the All-Stars here in Colorado. So that'll be fun. And then just a couple other topics as well that it's still kind of a little bit slower right now. Again, we're in the tailor end of, second leg of the stretch for NBA, NHL. So we're going to be slowly gearing towards playoff time. Seeding is going to be more important, so we're going to get a little bit into that in a couple shows here, in the next couple shows, to see, kind of where all these teams are kind of fitting and where we project them to land when it comes to the playoffs. But we still have a lot of other, when it comes to the NFL, we'll have some NFL news tonight. We're still working hard and getting ready for our big special when it comes to the NFL draft. So, so Scotty isn't going to be here, which means there's one thing I need from you guys, and that is participation. I love when you guys jump in and chat when, Scott and I are around, but since he's not here, I have no one to sound off on, when a sounding board, live with me here in studio, or in his studio, I should say. I need you guys to come in and bring the heat tonight. So, we're probably not going to go as long as we would normally go, but we're going to have some fun while we're here, and we're going to make sure that we get you all the best news, have some fun together, and get some of your topics talked about. So if there's stuff that you want to talk about that just is on your mind, if you want to get something off your chest, throw it in the chat. We would love to check it all out for you. There's a lot of things that, are out there that we can chat on. So definitely throw them in there. But yeah, I think that's all I really have for just our little intro here. If you're here and you're not following, make sure you hit that follow button. We're multi-streaming on 3 different platforms here. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, and we're on Facebook Live. So we're hitting you from all different angles. So make sure that you're hitting us up on all these different sides of the spectrum. If you're following on one or the other, just that's enough for us. But again, participation is going to be the big key here. Love all you guys when you guys start chatting, and we'll make sure we have a fun show tonight. So we're going to transition over to our news rundown. Bear with me. We have a little bit of a tweak I need to make once we get to this next segment, but we will be off and running here shortly. So Okay, here we go. Here's our news rundown. So this is going to be what we typically chat about every Wednesday. We take a little national scope of all the big headlines that are going on in the world of sports, and we like to hit you with them. We like to see what your thoughts are and what is going on in the NFL, the NBA. We just cover a little bit of everything. Usually Sundays we dedicate to more of a local view when it comes to the Rocky Broncos. The Broncos. Not a lot of news going on with the Broncos right now. They need a quarterback. We're going to be, speaking of quarterbacks, we're going to be talking a little bit about quarterbacks in these first couple stories here. But kind of light on some of these other stories when it comes to the Broncos. So, but typically Sundays are dedicated to a little bit of a local view for all of our team that watches from the Rocky Mountain region. We have a lot of people that chime in, friends, family, and everybody, so we like to give them some love as well. But hope you enjoy the rest of this show as we roll through. The first thing that we want to jump on is the big Sam Darnold trade. So this actually happened a little bit ago, and we didn't really talk much about it just because there's been a lot of March Madness going on, and we've been taking a lot of our time trying to get all up to speed with everything going on in the tournament. March Madness only happens once a year, so we definitely made sure to give it some love. But now that the tournament's over, we're going to shift to some of the things that we may have missed in the news. One of these is kind of an interesting one. Now, Sam Darnold is traded to the Carolina Panthers. Now, Sam Darnold is one of those quarterbacks that, hasn't exactly lived up to expectations up until this point. He's had a lot of hype before coming out of college, and he just hasn't really materialized. The number 3 overall pick in 2018, he had some high expectations, and a lot of teams had some high expectations, especially the Jets, for taking him that early. The Jets sent him to Carolina, and then they received 3 picks, a 6th rounder in the 2021 draft later this month, and 2nd rounder and a 4th rounder in 2022. So as far as that goes, he is going to be a Carolina Panther. Without a proven quarterback on the roster, the Jets are expected to select Sam Darnold's replacement with the number 2 overall pick in the draft this year in Cleveland. But the leading candidate is supposedly going to be Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, who's virtually, he's pretty much met multiple times over Zoom calls or whatever with the Jets. They seem to really, really like him. So that's kind of, the aftermath of what the Jets are going to probably be diving into. Whereas, Carolina is getting a quarterback that they're going to take a run at here and potentially even find a backup quarterback in the draft as well. Darnold is only 23, so he is still, fairly young, still has, a lot of legs in him. He's a kid, and he had a tough go in the New York Jets organization. New York Jets, keep in mind, sometimes you just need a change of atmosphere. The Jets haven't exactly been well coached. Adam Gase hasn't exactly shown the fact that he's, been really able to get a lot out of Sam Darnold. So that's kind of one of those things that I just think that this change of atmosphere was much needed when it came to getting him to a new team, a new atmosphere, somewhere where he can try to start over. Now, he showed promise at the end of his rookie season, but regressed under the former coach, Adam Gase. If the Jets do select a quarterback, they would become the first team in the common draft era since 1967 to select 2 quarterbacks within the top 3 overall picks in a 4-year span. Think about that. They are really high on taking quarterbacks, and they've done some they've had some options, and they haven't exactly panned out. That just kind of shows you how tough it is to be a Jets fan these days. You know, I know a few Jets fans, they are struggling right now. It's a consistently starting over kind of mentality that you always have with your team. It's kind of, I mean, the Browns were at that point for a while, and then the Browns ended up turning things around. But it's not exactly something you want to see if, you know, I mean, the Broncos might be on the cusp of that. We'll touch on that here in a little bit. But yeah, it's not a good move for the Jets if you want them to win now. So, hey, they can still make some options. They can still make some moves. I think they will. They are, I think, going to be on the up and up, hopefully in the next couple of years. But it's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure. As far as Sam Darnold goes, last he finished as the NFL's lowest rated passer in 2020 with 72% rating. 36 out of 36 qualifying quarterbacks there. And then his career passer rating is 78.6, which ranks 39th out of 39 since 2018. He's been a little bit slowed by injuries, though. Illness throughout his pro career. He missed 3 games as a rookie with a sprained foot, 3 games in 2019 with mono, and then 4 games in 2020 with a sprained throwing shoulder. So that's also something you got to keep in mind, too. He's not exactly had the perfect track record for being healthy. Now, I think that could change depending on, you know, how Carolina protects him and the schemes they use to get him out of trouble. And, you know, that offensive line, Carolina's building something a little bit, and they, you know, have a little bit of money to throw around. So who knows what kind of moves they'll make in addition to what they have going on here. But as far as that goes, yeah, Sam Darnold hasn't exactly had some great luck with the injuries or sickness side of things. To be fair, he didn't have much stability with the Jets either, though. He played under 2 head coaches, 2 different offensive systems. He also had no 1,000-yard rushers or 1,000-yard wide receivers. And he played behind just a offensive line that was shifting over and over. So he hasn't exactly had the help either. So there's a lot of factors that go into, you know, all right, what do you get from a Sam Darnold? What do you think you're going to be, you know, from a Carolina standpoint? What are you getting? And I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of upside. Now, if he could stay on the field and he could be under a consistent, you know, he's going to inherit Christian McCaffrey, take away that 1,000-yard rusher receiver. I mean, Christian McCaffrey almost covers that in one person, you know, one player, and he can definitely have some safety blankets when it comes to making sure he gets a little bit better passer percentage and a little bit of help out of the backfield. So that's going to be a huge update for Sam Darnold, which, I mean, he on again having some of the stability in New York, so this will be really strong for him moving forward. Now, keep in mind here, Darnold has 1 year remaining on his rookie contract, with guaranteed salary and bonuses totaling around $4.6 million. The Panthers must decide on Darnold's 5th year option for 2022 by May 3rd. So if they like what they see and they think they are, you know, when it comes to these off-season workouts and what they are, you know, the scouts are saying about what his upside is, I mean, it's going to be a way that the Carolina Panthers can reward him for that extra year. The $18.8 million fully guaranteed. He was due to count $9.8 million on the Jets cap, but they will get $4.8 million in relief and a $5 million dead charge for 2021. So just dead money for the Jets that they just need to pay. As far as everything else goes, Panthers plan on exercising that 5th year option. You know, it's got to happen here within the next month. So look to see any kind of updates on that in the next probably couple weeks if they like it enough. I would assume that they would take advantage of that. That's something that, it's kind of like a why not, right? But going on to the Panthers, the Panthers are in a weird spot. They were in an interesting spot, right? Because they were originally making a push for Deshaun Watson. Now, Deshaun Watson, there's a couple headlines that he's making on the side, but the Carolina Panthers were one of those teams that have mentioned, their group mentioned that they would do absolutely anything to get Deshaun Watson in a Carolina Panthers uniform. Now, all of a sudden, they make a trade for Sam Darnold. That says a lot to me. And we'll get into this, the Deshaun Watson thing here in a second. But the fact that a team that was literally going to move mountains to get Deshaun Watson completely did a U-turn and abandoned everything with that makes me nervous for any other team. Not that I'm like wanting, I know the Broncos, the Niners were in that mix. We'll talk about them here in a little bit as well. But it looks like there's a lot of teams that were in on Deshaun Watson that have already started to make their moves. San Francisco's made a little bit of a move. The Panthers have made their move. The Broncos are in an interesting spot because they haven't made a move. They haven't made a move on quarterback, which is what they need to figure out, whether or not you have something with Drew Lock or not. But when you see a team, the Carolina, that were really, really all over Deshaun Watson, just completely changed course, that shows you how bad this Deshaun Watson thing is. That shows you how bad this thing is going to possibly be for him. Again, we'll touch on that here in a second. But let me know your thoughts here on some of these items when it pertains to, the quarterback changes and what you guys think will happen here moving forward. Now, after the trade, the Jets, on the other hand, have 10 selections in the 2021 draft. They own 7 selections in the first 2 rounds. And then in the first 2 rounds of the next 2 drafts. I'm sorry. So they are stacked. They have some nice. They have accumulated some picks. Now they can use some of those picks to move up and down and make some trades and do some different things with. But given where they're at, adding some pieces around whoever they end up drafting could be, just add some nice young pieces that are going to develop. The Jets aren't going to make any headway in their division anytime soon. So I think it's in their best interest to use these draft picks to their advantage and try to get the best possible young talent they possibly can. Now, who knows what that's going to look like? I think they might. They're definitely going to go to quarterback, and then they're probably going to go maybe, some offensive weapons to go with, a nice young quarterback. But that's kind of what they're looking at. Now, Sam Darnold, on the other hand, drew interest from San Francisco and Washington before they ended up closing on the Panthers deal. So there was a couple, lines in the water when it came to bringing in a San Francisco and Washington for some different trade options. And there were 2 very different directions there from where they shifted from. Now, San Francisco and Washington went and made their own moves. San Francisco flew up the 2021 draft order to the number 3 spot, shipping away 3 first-round picks. Now, and a third to Miami. I'm sorry. No, most likely they're going to select a rookie quarterback. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to probably end up going that route, getting a guy he likes, and you can probably do that with that number 3. Now, you had Washington football team who ended up signing 38-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick to a 1-year, $10 million contract. So they're pretty much doing a Band-Aid, putting a Band-Aid on their season and by Band-Aid, Scott would probably be, a little bit higher up on Fitzpatrick. He loves the Fitz magic, right? We all know that. He's all about Ryan Fitzpatrick. And don't get me wrong, I'm not off the Fitzpatrick bandwagon quite yet. I mean, 38 years old, and he's still, I mean, arguably in Miami, he was one of the better quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback on that roster from just a talent standpoint. Maybe not longevity. You don't want him there forever, but at the same time, he was winning you games. So then they ended up shifting to a younger quarterback to try to get some development time, get some mileage on their nice young quarterback in Miami. Tua obviously needed to get something going, and he didn't exactly play the best, but you yo-yoed back and forth with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he could have won you some games, and now he's winning games in Washington. So it's kind of all over the place with some of these teams, but the key factor is teams are starting to make the moves, and so far Carolina filled a hole, Washington filled a hole for a year, the Jets will fill a hole through the draft, and the San Francisco 49ers will fill a hole through the draft as well. So that leaves one of the big teams that needs a quarterback, i.e. the Denver Broncos, kind of out on an island now. They don't really have much to look forward to. They, first of all, didn't pull any triggers. They had their hands in the mix with the Matthew Stafford early on in the free agency window. Didn't end up materializing. Let him go, and he's now in L.A. with the Rams. And then the Broncos were high on Deshaun Watson. They were in that mix. Now, as much as they will say they, were just kind of feeling out the Deshaun Watson, and there were confirmed reports that they were going to be in the mix should he become available for trade. Well, that changes everything now, right? You see Carolina jump off that bandwagon. You see San Francisco jump off that bandwagon. And you see Denver not doing anything. Well, it sounds like there's not going to be much of a market for Deshaun Watson. So, what do you do if you're the Broncos? At this point, you almost have to look at what you're going to do in the draft, because originally with the 9th pick, they were planning on taking potentially in some mock drafts a cornerback. Well, they kind of filled those gaps through some free agency signings and some different things on that front. They signed a couple corners, and they re-signed a safety. All great players that are going to have an impact. Some are saying the Broncos are going to have one of the better, defensive back ends, in football potentially. I'll believe that once we get into the regular season. We obviously have to play at Patrick Mahomes all the time, or at least twice a year. And then, that's been kind of one of those things that's really, hurt us over the last year is that secondary. So we filled some holes in the back end. So do we still take a corner? I don't know necessarily. We could get deeper there, but I think I have a feeling you have to go and see what you can get to try to move up. Or I always hesitate moving up in the draft for a quarterback in the first round because it's such a crapshoot. Not a lot of them pan out the way you want them to. It's kind of just a matter of luck on who ends up developing and who doesn't. But I think that's on their mind. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. But the dominoes are falling, and there are some teams that are finding their pieces and some teams that are kind of left out in the cold. So that's what we're working with here on this first one. But Sam Darnold, it's going to be fun to see how he can develop in Carolina with a team around him that I think he can really, really kind of sink his teeth into. Christian McCaffrey, as mentioned, is going to just help him just by himself with what he can bring. So super excited to see that. Hey, Carolina you might need to look out if Darnold ends up developing like we think he could possibly be into the player that he could have been when he was taken 3rd overall in the 2018 draft. So we'll see what happens. But on to the next one, though. So I kind of alluded to this. It's kind of weird not having Scotty here. I always say we. It's always a we. But Deshaun Watson. Now, Deshaun Watson, as mentioned, he doesn't necessarily have as big of, from what it seems, he doesn't really have that much of a big pursuit from other teams anymore. He most recently has had issues with legal issues with some women that he's been interacting with supposedly. Now, I always like to say supposedly, or I don't like to condemn anybody before things happen, but when you have 22 cases against you, it's kind of tough to just dismiss all those as, oh yeah, those cases are all false and they're just people trying to get money out of him. When they're all similar sounding from what it seems, when there's smoke, there's fire, right? And so I'm not going to go out and say, yeah, he did it. But at the same time, you got to take these allegations seriously. And that's why we have our legal system. That's why we have, a system in place to say, all right, once you're proven guilty, then you got to pay the price for a lot of these. But if you don't know what I'm talking about and you've been kind of under a rock for a little bit, 22 women have filed lawsuits against the Texans quarterback, alleging sexual assault, inappropriate behavior, mainly surrounding massages that he's signed up for or, tried to, line up over the course of the years, and where, he's put those massage parlor or these massage people in some tough circumstances with some of his behavior. Now, two of the women came out and spoke to the media about, what they're going through and what they have gone through. So, I'll let you guys take a look at those online. Those, these are their livelihoods, right? So, obviously they're, in a place where psychologically and everything else, it's tough for them to, come out of something like this. The situations that they've had to endure, right? And so at this point, Deshaun Watson, he's not only lost interest from other teams, but he's also lost interest from some of his sponsors and some of his contracts that he has from various, partnerships that he has. Beats by Dre dropped him. As far as Nike goes, I think that's partnership is put on hold for a little bit at this point. So he's not doing great for himself. And until here's the problem here as well. He wants out of Houston. Well, it's kind of hard to get someone out of Houston. One, this turns into a PR nightmare for Houston because they have to deal with this distraction, even if he's innocent, or if he's not innocent, then that's a whole different story. But if he comes out of this, it's still going to be questions left and right. And do you want to deal with that as Houston? Who's going to take him off your hands? At one point, you had teams bidding multiple first-round picks for this guy. Well, those are gone. You're never going to get that value again. So from all of this, it's just a mess to clean up no matter where you go with it, right? There's no matter what you do, you're going to be in an issue, right? I'm almost terrified for if the Broncos still have some little bit of interest. Now, would he bring a lot to this team? Sure. But at the same time, there's a lot of baggage that comes with this. Now, these lawsuits can go for a while. And I think that's what the NFL and that's what a lot of these teams are anticipating, because there could be suspensions after this, even if these trials do go long and they go all the way to the end. These could just stretch out the course of the season where it's not even going to be worth it to sign a guy that isn't going to be available for a couple years, a year and a half. There's a lot that goes into this. You look back at the Ray Rice stuff and all these other things. I mean, that's killed careers. Stuff like this, domestic violence and sexual assaults. And I mean, if you're not a big time name, you disappear after these kind of things happen. Like, you don't get signed by teams, and teams kind of stay away unless you have that talent. Obviously, he has the talent. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening here. There are still other stories where, there's some rumors that Deshaun Watson his camp tried to reach out and try to get some of these like low down, payments to kind of settle these cases out of court and keep this hush hush. Those aren't going anywhere. It's already out there. At this point, 22 cases. Who knows how many he's going to get charged of those 22 if he gets charged. But it's just fascinating, right? How do you go from being the most sought-after player, and he wasn't even a free agent. But here we are. Mayday, welcome. Glad you can hop in. Phillies World Series contenders. I actually had a bet on Phillies today that ended up panning out for me. So thank you for your Philadelphia Phillies to pop in and, give me a little bit of a boost in my parlays. I appreciate it. Mayday, how you doing, my friend? Hope you're having a good week so far. So that's all I really wanted to say on Deshaun Watson. But jumping in on the All-Star game on the next topic here, there's a little bit of little hype going on around Coors Field at the moment. So Coors Field, home of the Colorado Rockies, will be now hosting the All-Star game for Major League Baseball this year. Denver last hosted the All-Star game July 7th, 1998 in Coors Field. Fourth year in existence for the franchise. It was a very memorable event. Sold out, 51,231 saw the American League beat the National League 13-8. The highest scoring All-Star game in history, actually. Which that's kind of crazy to me, 13-8. I mean, you figure All-Star games, you see like the NBA All-Star game and everything else. All high scoring. Nope, 13-8. Not as big as you would think. Mayday, smart man betting on NOLA. Perfect. Yeah, no. Try to make some smart bets. I try to keep my bankroll kind of on the green right now. So opening day, by the way, was fantastic at Coors Field. Again, they were only had about 20,000 fans. Obviously, we can hold up to like 50+ thousand. So it didn't. But the thing was, it didn't feel quite as empty as you would think when there's only 20,000 fans. Now, they spaced it out. Scott's team, Scott works in the ticket side of things when it comes to Coors Field, which is where he's at now. Him and his team did a fantastic job. It seemed more full than it was actually with 20,000 fans. The weather was incredible. Lodo downtown surrounding that, all the bars and all the new kind of things that have popped up around the stadium looked absolutely incredible. The bars were alive. People were walking around this. It was like COVID never even existed for a little bit. Was it as buzzing as it typically is when you have 50,000 people down there and all the bars open to full capacity? No, it wasn't. But it was still such an incredible day. It's probably the big. I mean, it's definitely the biggest thing that I've experienced since COVID began a year ago, and it was refreshing. It was nice to have it. You still have the masks and everything else, but people were hyped. Everyone is excited. People were out on the streets walking around. It was a great experience. So if you have a chance, and we're going to talk about actually this MLB All-Star game, they're looking to have this to be full capacity by the time the All-Star game rolls around, which could be crazy to have 51,000 plus fans. MLB said it chose Denver because the city had already submitted a plan to host one of the future All-Star games anyway, and we could quickly ramp up for this year. Governor Polis here in Colorado has mentioned he's going to swing for the fences in getting people to go to try to get to a fully packed stadium. Currently, we're only limited at 42% capacity here at Coors Field. So that's going to be something interesting to see how well they're going to be transitioning through this period of, COVID. People are getting vaccinated now, so that's good. So yeah, we'll see. Good. What did I tell you about? Tell you, by the way, the Mets are the Mets. Yeah, you're not wrong. The Mets, you know what? There's a reason why they're my second team. And they're not really much better than my first team, the Colorado Rockies. So I'm just torturing myself, Mayday. It's what I do. I torture myself with these teams. I just can't get a break, man. You can convince me over time that I can take on your Phillies as maybe, one of my top echelons, but it's going to take some time. You got to really, really push it that way. And who knows what'll happen. But yeah, no, it's not good across the board for me here. And I acknowledge that. I'll accept the pain. You'll know that I lost. I had some pain when it came to the Gonzaga game the other night. We're going to talk about that next. But as far as all the details for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, tickets are still kind of up in the air on what the cost of those will be, how fans will be able to purchase those. But as far as the last time this game was hosted in 1998, the game brought about $40 million in spending and other economic activity. Economists and tourists officials say the city has much more to offer than, most when it comes to visitors and being able to do all of these, activities while you're out in Colorado. So it's going to be a big boost for us here. It's going to be a big boost. Now, this all has stemmed from all the issues in Georgia. I'm not going to get into the political aspect of it. Just bringing up just some of the areas of what they're going through and why it shifted. So, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed into law last month a sweeping Republican-sponsored bill that includes, new restrictions on voting, mail-in voting, greater legislative control over how elections are run. It also prohibits volunteers from distributing food and water to voters waiting in line and all these different things. So, as far as the voter suppression and all these things that come through from like the other side of things from that standpoint and that perspective, really the political environment down there since the election has been all over the place. And this is no different. And that's the big reason why, this was shifted. There's a lot that goes into this. I'm not going to dive into that, but from strictly a Colorado Rockies standpoint, hosting the game, I think it's great. This is one of the best. I've seen rankings of stadiums. Mayday, I haven't been over to the Philly Stadium ever. I would like to go at some point. But if you haven't been to Coors Field is, and maybe I'm biased, but I've been to probably 5 or 6 ballparks around town, around the country, I should say. Coors Field is by far one of my favorite ballparks that I've watched a game at, and I'm not being biased based off of the fact that I live here in Colorado. They have the patio up top, the rooftop patio, standing room only, where it's just a party. You have the mountains in the background. If you're sitting on the first base line, you can see the mountains and the landscape of the front range. Just stunning. The weather, you never have to worry about weather. Just Lodo around the stadium. They call it Lodo, Lower Downtown. That's kind of just that name for it. Fantastic. So many bars and rooftop patios for just lounging. People don't even go to the game. They just go downtown just to sit at the rooftop patios. It's an incredible atmosphere. So I'm so excited for people to experience that here who maybe are not used to coming to Coors Field. He is punishing the people in stores because of the economic strain. No, that's true. You can't deny that. It's just one of those things where, as far as that goes, it's just, man, people are just so fired up all these different ways. Like there's a lot of support from some of these other, sides that, for both sides, right? They're all battling for their own agendas and things, and so it's just messy. But Mayday, I've only been to the bank. It's nice there. Kids stuff amazing. Food because you're in the Northeast, and beautiful scenery. Yeah, no, I would love to go check it out. The only other park that I've been to, San Diego has a great venue for the Padres. I've been to there. I don't remember much because it was during my bachelor party when I was in San Diego for my bachelor party. I don't remember a lot. I remember I got these sweet hats, these sweet fedora hats with the San Diego Padres and this and that. We were out there with all my buddies and we were, caught a game, and Scott was there actually, and it was fantastic. That was a great ballpark too. Again, I don't remember all the aspects of the ballpark because I was a little bit. It was a bachelor party, right? Yeah, you don't remember all the details, but I had a lot of fun there. But Mayday, definitely come out to Coors Field one time. It'll be a great time if you ever make it out. I guarantee it. So so we're excited to host the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Again, I think if we can get a full stadium full of people packed, look out. It's going to be a fun environment. I did the first time around in 1998. I went to the day before the game where they do the home run derby and everything else. I was lucky enough to go to that, and I ended up getting one of those signature baseballs and all the souvenirs. Right? I was super young at that point. I was 11 years old, so I didn't really know the big deal with the hosting the All-Star Game. But when you do host it, it's kind of special, right? All the eyes are on your city and your stadium and everything, so it'll be a lot of fun. But finally, we want to jump in to our final topic of our news rundown here, and that's COVID in Canada. Now, speaking of COVID, I know we were talking a little bit about, COVID and the Rockies and full stadiums and things. Want to know which stadium isn't full? The Vancouver Canucks. They haven't played in forever because of COVID. So, check this. If you don't follow a lot of hockey, Vancouver Canucks said 25 players and coaches have tested positive for COVID-19, an outbreak involving the variant virus. 21 players of those 25. So, of that, how does this happen, right? This is absolutely crazy. I don't think the Canucks have played in over a week, maybe I think even over a week. Now, it took only one person to go to a community setting, is what they've said in their explanation of how this could have gotten really bad. The investigation said that use those terms. Community setting. It means someone went to a party or strip club. If you've been on this show, even early on in our early days, we couldn't go a show without talking about strip clubs because we were talking about James Harden and all these guys. But I digress. A community setting. Next time I get in trouble for something or being somewhere I'm not, and it's in a bad place, or I'm just gonna say I was in a community setting. That's what I'm just gonna say. That seems to be a really good explanation. But one single identified individual picked up the infection, and it since has been identified as this thing that's spread throughout the whole team. Asked whether the NHL is concerned that the player or staff member broke the league's protocol and sparked the outbreak, Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly declined to comment. So, this outbreak began on March 30th when forward Adam Gaudette tested positive. NHL postponed Vancouver's game against Calgary Flames the following night. And then this has just been, just rolling on since. A total of 6 Canucks games have now been postponed. You're just one person going to a community setting just derailed your entire season. Now, keep in mind, I don't think necessarily the Canucks were going to be making big moves by any means. Now, they're currently, where are they at? 16 and 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in their division. So it's not like they're doing much anyway. They're 17 and 10. No, I'm sorry, 16, 18, and 3. Now, if you look at some of these others, 27 and 10, these teams are playing some games, right? But yeah, Vancouver's just throwing everybody through a loop here. And if you're a Vancouver fan, man, good luck. Good luck getting your team back on the ice. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So, hey, At least the Avs are doing well, right? At least some of these other teams. Mayday, your Flyers, you know, they lost their last one, but hey, they still you know, have a chance. Still, at least we can watch our teams, right? Maybe that's the silver lining. At least we could watch our teams, even if they may not win, right? So, hey, I hope the Canucks can get healthy. I hope they can stop spreading. Get them all vaccinated, man. Get them all taken care of. It's open. I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone knows in chat how that works in Canada with getting the vaccination. If they are on the same level as like the United States, I think, you know, for us here in Colorado, we can definitely get the vaccine 16 and over. I don't know. I've tried to like look everywhere to sign up, and I've signed up in like 10 places, and I can't get any vaccine. So I don't know. Maybe I thought athletes somehow got the, you know, pass in line to get in front for some of these things, but I guess not. They're the ones traveling around the country, and you know, this was something we talked about in the very beginning of the year. Like, what would be the impact of COVID now that the NBA and the NHL are out of their bubbles? How is this going to affect teams? And so far, it's been fairly in both leagues. It started out a little rocky, but it's gotten better and better and better. But there are little instances like this, because this doesn't just affect the Canucks. This affects the teams that have to play the Canucks. There's always those aspects of it's not just about us. It's about the bigger picture, right? So who knows? I mean, when you have 6 games to reschedule at the end, how do you do that? They're going to have to figure something out, and that's not going to be fun for whoever has to schedule those guys. And I mean, if this gets bad enough, who knows? Maybe they don't even they punish them and they say, hey, you're forfeiting these games because we can't reschedule them. So who knows? Their garbage stop being optimistic. They're so bad, I don't watch anymore. Well, then you're on board with this. You're in the same boat as Canucks fans then, right? So if you don't watch them, then it's not like they're not even playing at all. So, hey, you never know. The Flyers are minus 24 in goal differential, so that's not a great stat either. But hey, I think Scotty's in the worst shape, because I think he actually put money on them early on when we did our first preview of the NHL. He ended up, I think, throwing out there that he was going to make a bet on the Philadelphia Flyers to potentially win the whole thing. I mean, he's got better odds now on his money. They're probably not going to hit, but hey, he's the one that's going to be out his money. So it is what it is. So that's just what I wanted to use to wrap up our news rundown here on a Wednesday night. So the next stop I wanted to make here tonight, and to wrap up our show here over the next half hour, 45 minutes, is talk a little bit, and we can talk about anything you guys want here, but we're going to be slowly working our way through March Madness and what ended up happening with that, because we haven't seen you guys since the tournament ended. So we'll be touching on that, and then can we please talk about baseball more so I can brag on the Phillies? Yes, we can definitely talk some more baseball, because your Phillies are a lot more interesting to talk about than anybody that we're following on this channel when it comes to our teams. So obviously Scott's a Rockies fan because he works with the Rockies, and he lives here in Colorado, and just a mess. 1-2 to start the season. It's still early on, but the Rockies are 1-4. Rockies are just on that. They're on that smooth run to lose a lot of games. They're not getting they're getting the head start on losing their games early, so they can just keep on that same rhythm. They could be consistent throughout the course of the year. So Phillies, on the other hand, 5-1 on fire. The Phillies are absolutely crushing right now. As far as this goes, a 10-plus run differential, best in their whole division. So, the Phillies are absolutely incredible. Now, Mayday, let me know what you think. Are they going to be big contenders this year? I would love to get your thoughts. And we're going to probably have, another baseball chat here coming up in one of our upcoming shows. Once we've kind of seen, a couple weeks under our belt, we got, all those logged, and we can kind of see, all right, where are things kind of separating out from that standpoint on the baseball side of things. So we're definitely going to be diving more and more into some of our power rankings for Major League Baseball, and even, jumping into the final legs of the NHL and NBA season, because I know you haven't forgot about your Philadelphia 76ers, Mayday. I know they're still in the running now that you got Embiid back in, and they are back to being in that driver's seat here moving forward. So we'll talk a lot about all that stuff. But real quick, wanted to dive into the national champions here. Unfortunately, me being a Zags fan, this hurts a little bit, having to talk about all of this recap of this game. Now, I won't spend a lot of time on this. We could talk about some other things here now, because we'll talk some baseball, and then we'll keep some of these vibes going with where we see some of these teams going, especially the Phillies and maybe some of our home teams here. But the new national champions are the Baylor Bears. Baylor Bears end up beating the Gonzaga Bulldogs, and it wasn't just a close game that got out of hand at the end. This was a really rough game all around from top to bottom. This is the first national championship for Baylor in school history, and they just balled out. They absolutely just crushed. Now, as far as this game, it wasn't pretty from the get-go. This almost reminded me a lot of, and me being a Broncos fan, I remember this quite a bit because the Broncos went into their Super Bowl against the Seahawks, got smacked in the face, and never recovered. That's how this game felt for the Zags. The Zags they weren't ready. They got smacked in the face, and they never recovered. Mayday, when you look at the Celtics logo, there's a stamp that says Sixers Properties. I like that. I love that you're owning on the Celtics. The Celtics have not looked good this year. Sixers look much, much better. Hey, I want your Sixers to go. I want your Sixers to put Brooklyn away. That's what I want from you, Mayday, and your Sixers. Make sure that they take care of Brooklyn, and I'll be a happy man. How about that? But as far as some of this goes with the Baylor and Gonzaga game, they just balled out from top to bottom. This was just a one-sided show. Gonzaga was going to be their first undefeated national champion since Indiana in 1976, and the Bears just put that to bed. It wasn't even close. Gonzaga shot 51%, but finished with a season low 70 points after averaging a national best 91.6 points. Gonzaga made 5 of 17 threes, lowest total in 6 NCAA tournament games. As far as everything else, the offense struggled to get clean looks or make early three-pointers. Reliable defense couldn't slow down the Bears' three-point shooting. The Bears just shot out of control. I mean, you think that 40. I mean, they shot 44.8%, which doesn't seem like a lot. Actually, Gonzaga shot a better percentage. But the 3 points, the 3-pointers and the turnovers, the offensive rebounds that the Baylor Bears were getting, they were just too much. Suggs hit that big game winner in the Final Four against UCLA to put him in this game. Got 2 fouls early. Wasn't able to recover from that. I mean, he was a big point. Once he left the game, it was hard for them to get any rhythm going. Once he came back in, they got on a little run. It wasn't exactly, I think they got it at one point within 10 at half. And then it just got, blown out since then. Kispert, who was the Associated Press first-team All-American, he didn't get any clean looks. He kind of had a disappointing overall tournament, in my opinion. Finished with 12 points and 2 3-pointers, which he was just blazing those. I get that he was in the West Coast Conference for the majority of the season. However, where does that go? I mean, he did get some open looks that he was just missing. Drew Timme, just a rough game. They couldn't get him involved. I think the biggest part is they took him out. Those 2 big boys in the middle just were able to just not let him catch the ball. They weren't letting him touch it in the first half. He finished with 12 points and just got 7 shots while getting to the into the second half foul trouble and nursing an apparent injury that happened at one point during the game. The Zags, had been here once before, taking 1 loss from a team on the way to the final night of the season for 4 years ago against North Carolina. So as far as that goes, I mean, it was just an ugly game top to bottom. You kind of got the vibe in the first 8 minutes of the game, 5 to 8 minutes, that this was going to be a rough one. As you can see on the screen here, Jared Butler was the MVP. Go back to the previous picture here. First player in a national championship with at least 20 points and 7 assists since Carmelo Anthony in 2003. Now, Carmelo Anthony, obviously, he was he's one of the best scorers in the NBA, arguably one of the most talented scorers in the NBA history based off of just his career and what he's done. I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of these Baylor Bears made a name for themselves. Butler, 6 for 14 overall, 4 for 9 from 3 for 22 points. I mean, he was definitely the MVP. Mitchell, 15 points. I mean, big turnovers. He was able to, kind of make them feel uncomfortable at the point of, top of the key. Made it tough. A couple other little side things. You didn't want Mitchell or Butler to beat you. But Teague ended up doing some damage with 19 points, shooting 8 for 15. 2 for 3 from threes. So, I mean, as far as that goes, man, they didn't get a lot of production from their bigs. Their bigs got in foul trouble early. It was their guard play that won them this game. So as far as that goes, man, free throws, edge goes to Baylor. They hit 16 of 18, so they were looking really good. That's a big, stat when it comes to advancing in these tournaments. That's why, some of these early games that these teams were missing free throws left and right. I'm like, how do they get it this far? They're awful. But I mean, look what Baylor's able to do. As far as the other end of the spectrum, Gonzaga shot 15 for 21 from the free throw line. It wouldn't have mattered. They just didn't have what they needed here in this game. So, it was a tough one. This is national champs from Texas all time. Baylor and Texas Western in 1966. Crazy. So, Baylor's looking good. They actually have odds next year that could potentially be champs again. They're going to be right there in the mix. A lot of this is depending on what ends up happening with some of the players that are going to be graduating, obviously, or going into the draft. Suggs will probably be going to the draft, and then who knows about so Kispert's going to be done. He could potentially get into the NBA. I don't know how effective he's going to be as an NBA player if he does get into the NBA. Timme, he's a sophomore. I think he comes back. I hope he comes back. I think he's very undersized. I think he could still, do some things when it comes to staying around for another year maybe and see what he can end up doing, especially since the Gonzaga Bulldogs are going to be favorites for the national championship next year at plus 700. I'll get into that here in a second. But the all-tournament team, as discussed, amongst some of the experts, Johnny Juzang for UCLA, absolutely incredible. One of the best players in this entire tournament, in my opinion. Just absolutely stellar from top to bottom. Davian Mitchell and Jared Butler, both from the Baylor, and then Suggs and Drew Timme, both from Gonzaga. Now, this team, that's a hell of a team, all-tournament team. These guys are all studs. They all crushed and well-deserving for all these guys. Let me know in the chat who you think is your overall best player of the tournament. It's kind of hard, even given Davian Mitchell, Jared Butler. It's hard to go against Johnny Juzang. We had some stats on our last show of what he did in the tournament. I mean, he was, I think, second highest scorer all time in any tournament from top to bottom. He was unbelievable. I mean, that's probably going to be one of my votes if I had to pick one guy from this. Jalen Suggs obviously is a big talent, but it's hard to go against what Juzang did in this tournament. Now, going into the NCAA tournament odds for next year. So when Selection Sunday rolls around, there's a few teams that are going to be up there in the mix. Gonzaga is plus 700. They're the favorite to be champions next year. Baylor Bears plus 850, so they're going to be next in line. Michigan Wolverines. Then look out. You got the Blue Bloods back. The Duke Blue Devils are going to be coming in fourth, is fourth in the favorite list for the national championship next year. So that'll be very, very interesting to see how they rebound. Obviously, they had a rough year. They almost made it to the tournament, and they didn't want to be in there, but then they were like, the door was open, so they were like, yeah, well, sure, we will. And then they said no, and then Duke was like, okay, I guess we didn't want to be in there anyway, so we're done for the year. So they were going back and forth on that one. So I kind of am bitter the way they handled the end of the season from Duke's standpoint, but it is what it is. UCLA Bruins, Kansas Jayhawks. So Scott's team, he's obviously a big Kansas boy. His Jayhawks getting a plus 1,800. So that's bet 100 to win 1,800. So just a heads up there. And then there's three teams tied at 1,800. Florida State Seminoles, Kentucky Wildcats. So you have another of the Blue Bloods there. And then following up, you got Ohio State Fighting Illini from Illinois. Villanova Wildcats. There you go, Mayday. Villanova's coming in at plus 2,000. Hey, Mayday, if you really like your Villanova Wildcats, put your money on them now and cash in. Because if you think they're going to make a run, get that value, son. Get that value. Make sure you're getting in your money. $100 bet will win you $2,000. So make sure you're cashing in. Maybe put 500. No, don't take my advice. But I'm sure, hey, a tournament scenario, you never know what happens. I mean, look what you saw with the Oral Roberts of the world. And, those are the smaller teams. You saw UCLA. Villanova could be the next year's UCLA. Who knows? So yeah, there you go. Houston, Alabama. Let's see. North Carolina comes in plus 2,800. So that's kind of the list there. Everything else kind of falls. There are a lot of similar teams. You don't really see too many variants of, as far as the big teams that made it, Houston's, Alabama's, North Carolina's, that didn't make it this year, obviously, but Arkansas, Texas, all the same culprits. You're going to be seeing a lot of those same teams in the mix for next year. But your big three, big four at the top: Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Duke, and UCLA coming in at the top there as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. This is by far the most college basketball I've watched in the last, couple years. So I've really been excited. I can't wait. I'm a big basketball guy. I love my NFL. I love my NBA. So NBA and probably college basketball is creeping in up there with the NFL as my big three, along with, hockey and baseball pretty close behind there. So really got into basketball, especially the March Madness tournament. So I'm kind of just itching for next year. I mean, the season ended and I'm just like, I want more. After not having a tournament last season, it definitely feels good to be back in the mix with all this. So definitely, I think it's going to be fun. Especially now. I hope, some of these teams can get some nice recruiting going. I'm sure, I think I saw that the Gonzaga Bulldogs ended up getting a number 3 point guard in the country. So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, Mayday, definitely look at your odds early on right now, because the next time Villanova ends up, only losing 2 or 3 games over the course of the season, they're definitely not going to get that same value. So get it while it's hot. Get it while it's hot. So absolutely. And let me know in the chat too, anyone who's watching, if you're here and you're, to kind of just following along, make sure you're hitting that follow button if you haven't already. Make sure you're, chiming in on who you think is going to be there next year, on your team. Who's your favorite team and who do you want to take it all? I think those are definitely. There's a lot of options out there. Some other interesting values, real quick. Purdue is a potential top 10 team. They're getting plus 4,000. Now Purdue, they're historically decent in the tournament. They kind of choked early on in the second round this year. They didn't exactly live up to the expectations that I had for them. I had high expectations for them, but plus 4,000 for a team that could be a top 10 preseason name. Hey, that might not be a bad one. Michigan State, Tom Izzo getting plus 3,000. Those are a couple long shots that, hey, could be carrying some value weight on them when it comes to throwing some bets out there. It only takes one. It only takes one to cash in for you. So even a small bet on one of those long shots, you could be putting some money in your pocket. So keep that in mind. But yeah. As far as anything else goes, let me know what you guys want to talk about as far as anything else before we wrap up the show here. Because we're going to be going and doing some prep here. No, Scotty, we don't have Scotty tonight. We're going to be doing a little bit more, but sorry for that quick mute there, and just adding a couple little media here to this little slide while I get it cleaned up for you, so we can just talk a little bit about anything. This is going to be our little. Let's talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, because we're going to be wrapping up the stream here a little bit earlier tonight. We're not going to go the full length here, but if there's something you want to get off your chest. I know Mayday wants to talk about his Philadelphia Phillies, so we could talk about that. If there's anybody else in the chat that really wants to jump in, feel free to throw whatever you want. This is your chance. Not a lot of other people that are throwing stuff out, so now's your opportunity to jump right in and get going with, maybe any hot takes you have. Do you have anything you want to discuss? Put it in the chat. Now, let me go ahead. It's a little quiet right now. I know I like to hit you with some music and things along the way when it comes to some background music for you guys. Keep it so it's not so silent. But we have that all here. Now, I want to go and take a look real quick at the MLB standings because I haven't really, it's been kind of a blur. I haven't really taken a quick look at these. Now, you have a couple teams coming out of the gates really hot. Now, Scott mentioned that the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres, both in the same division, obviously in the West, the NL West. The Padres coming out to a 4-3 record so far. The Dodgers 5-2, but right now they're trailing behind in the National League to the Cincinnati Reds at 5-1 and the Philadelphia Phillies. If you're betting on either of those teams, you're in great shape. Mayday, you're doing homework right now. Hey, what are you doing watching the stream, man? You should be focusing on your homework is what you need. What school do you go to? Remind me where you attend. Let me know. Hot take incoming. O's are going above. Okay. Oh, the Orioles are going above 500. Okay, I like the hot take. Now, where are they at? They're 3-2 right now. They're second in the East in the American League behind the New York Yankees. And they are, they did lose. They started out 3-0, ended up losing 2 straight, but I don't hate that. I don't hate that hot take. I don't even know if that's a hot take, Mayday. That might be one of those, I don't know. I might say that that's not necessarily a hot take because I can see them staying a little bit up there. I don't know, what you're getting with Tampa. Boston's kind of like a hit and miss. I don't see the Toronto Blue Jays staying up there. Rockies winning 5-0. Let's see. I haven't even checked the scoreboard today. So scoreboard. Now the Rockies, I think they should turn things around. They're not going to be this god awful all season long, but I have a feeling they're going to turn things around. Their pitching is too good to not be winning, not be losing all these games. Like they'll win some games. They're not going to, I don't think, catch San Diego or the Dodgers in either of those spots, those in the top 2. But I don't know. I can see the Rockies coming in, getting in a good rhythm as they go down the stretch of the season. Now, again, they're not going to overtake the top 2, I don't think. I wouldn't put my money on it. But some of the other scores from around the league: the Braves winning against the Nationals 7-6. Reds, again, red hot, aka, i.e. their name, no pun intended. They're red hot. Beat the Pirates 11-4. That was really bad. That's what happens when you're a dad. You just have the dad jokes, I got to practice my dad jokes. They're not exactly as good as I would like them to be. I've only been a dad, though, for about 18 months. So, to work on that. If you have any good dad jokes, I would love to hear some of your go-tos because I need to step up my game. I need your help. Help me out. Now, let's see. Minnesota Twins, 4-2. They get a win over the Detroit Tigers. The Cleveland Indians win over the Royals. Both those teams kind of just, 2-3, 3-2. Royals on the better end of those records there. And then as far as some of these others, the Brew Crew taking over the Cubs, 4-2. Athletics beating the Dodgers. So the Dodgers, started out big against the Rockies and kind of slowed down here. I actually thought the Dodgers would win this game against the A's. A's are only 1-6. This was their first win of the season. So there's that. Bad pun. Come on, man. Yeah, that's why I need your help. Hey, give me some good dad jokes. I need some good dad. If you got one, let me know. You don't necessarily, if you're in chat and you're not a dad, you don't necessarily need to be a dad to have a good dad joke, because you'll always have those people at the parties that are just like, they always tell those like cheesy jokes, and you're just like, man, I don't want to laugh at that, but it's funny. It's not bad, and then you end up using it. But yeah, that's just how it goes, right? I only make bad dad jokes when I don't think about them. Yeah, no, I just don't really have any great ones. Like I'm gonna have to Google some. I'll bring some dad jokes from you on the next one. Maybe we'll hit you with some randomly. We'll just maybe start out the stream with one or two and just get a feel. And then you could just be like, no, you need to stop that. It's not good. The Cardinals 4-2 over the Marlins. 4-2 record, beating the 1-5 Marlins now. 7-0 shutout. And your Orioles, as you mentioned, Mayday, your hot take of the day, 4-3 over the Yankees right now. Now let's go ahead. I'm digging this. I'm digging this score rundown because we don't typically do this on our Wednesday show, and I want to hang out with you guys a little longer. So, Mayday, don't keep concentrating on your homework. Don't forget to do that. Are you working on right now? Just curious. Is it like calculus? Is it something else? Let me know. But I want to hit the NBA scores because we do have a Nuggets game going on right now. Nuggets, by the way, 5-0 since we've acquired Aaron Gordon. Up on the Spurs in the fourth quarter with 8:30 left, 94-79. So, man, they are crushing right now. Nikola Jokic is about to hit a triple-double if they don't pull him early. He'll have 25 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists as of right now. So we'll see if he can add on a point and a rebound and an assist to go with that. The Phoenix Suns up on the Jazz. I had actually a little tip on the Suns beating the Jazz. Right now the Suns are up 38-32 on the Jazz. Make that 41. They just hit a 3 here. So that's going to be an interesting one as well. Almost done science. Already done algebra. Oh man, I don't miss the algebra. I was never really a math kid, and even in math, there's one of two. You're one of two people, right? You are either an algebra person, or you're an geometry person, right? Like you're either good with like shapes and that kind of shit, or you're into like the numbers and figuring that. I was always a geometry person. I always liked the shapes and the areas of a circle and all that because I feel like that was pretty practical, right? You need that stuff. I mean, I guess you need it all if you're going to be in certain professions. But man, I was definitely one of those people that like could project myself going to like building a house or building something, and you need to know the circumference of a circle or a area of a cube or square or whatever it is that you need, right? So gonna get honors again this quarter. Hey man, you better get honors. I want you to hit it. I want you to make sure you get those get them good grades, man. Keep your head in the books. I would expect nothing less. And when you do hit honors, I want you to let us know so we can celebrate on the show. So anyways, that's just me and math. Just don't really get along. That's kind of why I do this show, right? It doesn't require that much math. I mean, I got to, maybe subtract some scores and maybe see, basic math subtraction, right? So yeah, that's just all part of it, right? But going into some of these other scores here, I wanted to touch on the Pacers and Timberwolves. Now, this is a regulation final, 141-137. Obviously, no defense was played in this game. I mean, you had a absolutely crazy high-scoring game. Karl Anthony Towns playing well, 32 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. So he is the big boy in that one. Other scores from around the league: Wizards over the Magic, 131-116. So Russell Westbrook, triple-double, a massive, massive triple-double, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 15 assists. If you do any daily fantasy and you put that guy on your team, whoo, you're paying up for him, but he's going to get you those stats. He's going to get you paid out on those daily fantasies if you ever get into that. But, so that's a big win for the Wizards there. Both teams not very good, but I'm sure that one is just fun, just from a statistical standpoint. All right. Mayday. Here, let me explain a problem. 48x to the 3 divided by 7x to the second. Man, I don't even know what you're talking another language right now. I don't even know what that means. What is that? Here is the answer. When you divide, you subtract the exponents, you get 4x. Now you're just showing off. Now you're just throwing it out there. Now you're putting me in an uncomfortable situation, because now I'm not the smartest guy in the room anymore. But hey, you know what, Mayday? If I ever need your statistical analysis on anything when it comes to trying to figure out like some different like sports related stats or some shit, I want you to be my go-to person for that. All right. I want you to help me out and make sure that I stay on track. You can be, maybe you be my accountant one day or something. I don't know. You're good with numbers, it looks like. So I appreciate that. But that's why you're in honors math right now, and I'm sitting here putting together a little sports stream for, all of our viewers. So that's the difference. But hey, man, I wish I was as smart as you on some of those areas, man. I mean, you're 14s. I mean, hey, you got me. I know that. Appreciate it. By the way, if you have any other friends that love hopping in on the stream, we can have a math contest. We could have a mathathon. We could talk some sports, do some math. Maybe I'll learn some stuff. Maybe Scott. I definitely know you know more than Scott right now. That's for sure. So, hey, let's make it a big thing. Let's have some people come in. Get some more people to follow the show, and get some people to jump in with us. That'd be fun. And then finally, going through some of these others, Rockets win over the Mavs. Mavs were actually doing pretty well up until they hit the Rockets, which this is a bad loss for the Mavericks, 102-93. Rockets are absolutely awful. The Hawks end up losing to the Grizz, 131-113. Those two teams are pretty similar in the standings, so those we'll see how that ends up panning out down the stretch when it comes to finding out the seedings for these various games. And then finally, the Hornets beat the Thunder 113-102. So, so that's going to wrap up all of the NBA side of things. Let's hit the NHL too. Let's see what we got there. I got a couple of kids. Yeah, let's make this a party, man. Let's have everyone in. Let's get some people to sign up on Twitch and check us out and be a part of the stream. Let's get this growing. Get some more followers, right? Get some more lab rats in here. I love it. Let's make it happen. NHL scores here. Let's dive in. There's not too many games going. Our Colorado Avalanche are in action. Unfortunately, there's good news and bad news for the Avs right now. Bad news is they're down 5-3 to the Wild. Good news is the Avalanche can put up 5 goals in one period pretty much. So I'm not too worried about them. Nathan McKinnon, Rantanen, and Burakovsky already scored. Obviously, that top line of the Avs is nasty. They don't stop. By the way, I'm going to try to find that jersey. I found that jersey that I wanted online for $225. Do I buy it? It's the retro reverse jersey for the Colorado Avalanche. It's like one of the sweetest hockey jerseys I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if my wife will let me buy that, but I really want to. If she's watching right now, I don't know. Sometimes she watches the stream. Maybe not. Maybe she'll give me the go-ahead in the stream. Who knows? Either way, I want it. So anyways, back to this game. 5-3. So fast start from the Minnesota Wild. The Avalanche have not lost in recent memory. They think they've, at one point, I think they've rattled off a point in each of their 11 or 12 straight games. Their 5-game win streak currently, so that's in jeopardy should they lose this. They're atop of the NHL in general overall with their points, 56 points. And actually scratch that. No, Toronto ended up winning. So they're at 57 points. So they're second in points in the league. So just heads up there. Mayday, yes. Yes, I should buy that jersey. If I have your permission, then maybe I can go buy that. See, I have Mayday vouching for me. See, this is what feels good. When I have my fellow lab rats vouching for me to buy something and make a big expense, it feels good. This is why I need you guys in the community. This is why you guys are so great. This is why I love you. Because you help me obtain the things I need, because I have someone on my side when I want to go make these expensive purchases. You know, it just makes sense. So back to some of the scores. The Blues are up on the Golden Knights 2-0. 15 left in the third. That's actually a big one, considering the Golden Knights are going to be one of those teams that are challenging the Avalanche and are currently in just starting the second right now. Oilers over the Senators is a final 4-2. The Canadiens last game ended up losing to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So currently, as it stands, Toronto has the better record in the NHL, unless the Avalanche make a comeback here, which is totally in the realm of possibility, because you still have 20 full minutes for them to make a run here. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Taking a look at the standings one more time. Florida Panthers, they're at the top of the Central, looking to do some good things there. Washington Capitals are at the top of the East, followed by the Islanders, Penguins, Bruins. The North is obviously the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are 27-10-3. They're on a 5-game winning streak. The only other 5-game winning streak next to the Colorado Avalanche currently, as they sit now. So they're just as hot as the Avs right now. Super close in the standings. Vegas is 52 points, 4 points behind the Colorado Avalanche as they sit. And yeah, that could change depending on what ends up happening here with this Avs game. So that's kind of the rundown here. I actually wanted to go back. So, looking at, where was it? I want to say, did I miss? Yeah, the Brooklyn Nets ended up beating the Pelicans. That was the game I was kind of looking for again in the NBA to see where they were at. Kevin Durant ended up coming back. Kyrie played 24 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. But Mayday's Philadelphia 76ers are going to take care of them later on. So we already have that agreement in place. Now the standings as far as the NBA goes, if the Nuggets win this game, they'll be on a 7-game win streak. They'll be 9-1 in their last 10. And let's see. Philadelphia needs to get a win. You're right now a half game behind Brooklyn in the standings. So Mayday, we need to make sure we get that rectified. Do work for me. Do work. Make sure that you take care of that. If you're here and you're just kind of hanging out and you want to talk about any one particular team in any sport, hit us up. Mayday doesn't have a problem hitting us up with all his Philadelphia side. So, we want to talk about everything. Otherwise, we're going to slowly wrap up the show here. And by we, I mean me. Because Scotty's, again, obviously not here. He's working hard at the Colorado Rockies. He's at Coors Field just making sure people are butts in the stands, right? Making sure everything. But I want to thank some of our, first of all, I want to thank Mayday for popping in. He's doing homework right now. He's throwing math equations in here. But Bradley, thank you for following on Facebook. Kay Vogel, thanks for following on Twitch. Patrick Winters, thank you for liking the stream. Thank you so you guys who are supporting us, whether you're following or not. If you're not following on any of those platforms, follow us on one of them. Hey, and by the way, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just great for us. I actually appreciate more of the participation than even the follow. But if you want to follow and you want to support everything you got, you like what you hear from what we have going on, I appreciate that even more. It's that cherry on the top of the cake, right? That's what you get. So thank you so much for being a part of this. It means a lot that you guys chime in, even if you're doing homework during the stream. You know, it's fantastic. Follow us on all our different platforms. We post, you know, periodically, depending on what's going on with, you know, news updates or even stuff with, you know, the street for a reason. We don't really change anything up, but we like to keep you guys informed. So make sure you do that. We got Twitter, we got Instagram, we got Facebook, we got a little bit of everything, man. So just jump on in, be a part of the lab, join the Lab Rats crew. I'm still actually working on getting some little emotes kind of built out for all of our Lab Rats and all of our different things. So that way we can have some fun with it every time you guys, you know, eventually have the ability to sub. We need to get the followers, though. We need to get the followers so you guys can start subbing, you know, to the channel. That's the next step. So, you know, that's our goal. We're not quite to 50 yet. We're getting there. I don't even know how many followers we have. I keep losing track. Again, we do this for fun. We love the more followers we have, the better. So I appreciate it. But we were going to be back here live on, what day is it? It's Wednesday. I can't even keep track of the day. It's Wednesday. So we're going to be back here live in the lab on Sunday. So make sure you're here. Make sure you're with us. We have a lot to cover. I have a feeling Scotty's going to have some topics he wants to cover, especially surrounding the Master. But otherwise, talking some more of your teams, whatever you want, because we have our viewer grab bag again on Sunday. So make sure you're a part of all of it. And we have some fun surprises planned for some shows coming up. So I want you to be a part of it. Hit that follow button so you don't miss out. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much. We will see you back here in the lab on Sunday. Have a great rest of your week. And, you know, be good. Be good to each other, right? You know, that's always people say good to each other. Be good to yourself.